Hi, I'm Adriana Cowdin, author of Stubborn as Fuck and the Stubborn as Fuck movement founder. Join this conversation with Kim and I, where we talk about my journey leading multi-million-dollar brands to fighting for my life in hospital rooms and how you can really find love, purpose, and a new sense of power and reinvention along the way.
Welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. You are going to be so happy you're here. I'm Kim Sorrelle. I'm an author, speaker, entrepreneur. I get to do a lot of fun things in life. My favorite thing to do by far is to meet people. I love people. I love people's stories. We're all so individual, and it's always so inspiring and amazing to see what other people are doing in life, how they react to life. And so I'm thrilled that today I have a guest who you're going to learn so much from. I've learned so much from just in reading about her and listening to her on different shows and reading stuff that she's written. And she's just an incredible lady that I know you'll be inspired by. And so we're going to dive right in, and we're talking about resilience today. We're talking about a lot of different things, but I can't wait. So we're going for it. Adriana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited to connect with your audience.
Yeah, well, great. Well, I'm so pleased. I've been so looking forward to this. You are truly an inspiration, and people will know that shortly. But I want people to get to know you. So I want to start with you telling us about 8-year-old Adriana.
So I know you're in Michigan. I was raised in the suburbs of Chicago. Anyone who's familiar with the Northwest area will know Arlington Heights. Um, by a single mom who worked 5 jobs and raised 3 kids. I have an older sister and brother. Um, I came out stubborn. And I joke about that because my mom went into labor July like 5th, and I didn't make an appearance until August 6th. She had labor like every day until she had 36 hours. And she always jokes, I was like completely breech and I had like my toes and fingers playing. Like I have always been stubborn. Like life has been on my terms for me. Um, and that kind of just repeated through life, right? I had to have, if I wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it was like bread here, peanut butter here, jelly here. Like everything was always really particular. I don't think I knew very young how that stubborn streak, if you will, was going to end up saving me. And so that's kind of the resilience that built up started when I was really young.
Yeah, wow, wow. So it's interesting that you can admit that you're stubborn. I
Yeah.
know stubborn people who will never say it. You know that you know that they are, but they'll go, "Yeah, no, I'm not stubborn." But sometimes I think we look at it as a negative. Oh, you're so
Yeah.
stubborn, and we use it as a negative.
Right.
But there are some really positive attributes to being stubborn.
Yeah.
And there are times in life that it is the best attribute that you can have is to be stubborn. How did that play out for you? Like in high school when you were young, did you know what you wanted to do with your life? Like how did it play out a little bit later than 8 years old?
So it's interesting. I do say stubborn saved me, and it's very true. In high school, I had a very kind of traditional high school experience that people picture, like I was the head of the cheerleaders and all of that. But I was always busy, like trying to rush through life. And so I was ready to leave high school my junior year. Like, I had all the credits, I was ready to graduate and go to college. But my brother was graduating that year. And so my mom was like, no, it's your brother's year. You can stay for an extra year. And being my stubborn self, I was like, well, fine, then I'm not going to cheerlead and I'm just going to focus on getting college credits. I'm going to do it my way. Because at that time, I wanted to be a doctor. From the time I was very young, I wanted to be a doctor. There were kind of two things I saw in my life, which think about a young kid in the 70s. This is not how most girls thought. But I wanted to be a neurosurgeon and I wanted to get married later in life to someone who already had grown kids. I didn't want kids of my own, and I wanted to live in like a big high rise condo in the city. I was raised on like a a ranch house in the suburbs, like nothing that I came from, but I had like this vision for how I wanted my life to go. And it didn't matter how old I was like, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. And then, I went to college and I was like, yeah, I don't want to stay pre-med. And fell in love with business. But I had that picture. I'm very visual. I had that picture in my head, like, I'm going to get married later in life. I'm not going to have my own children. And that's what's happened. I love my husband is literally my best friend and favorite person in the world. And I have a 22-year-old stepdaughter, and I live in a high rise condo in Miami. Just how it materialized, but very different than how a lot of younger girls felt that were growing up in that time.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I was in high school in the 70s, and uh I didn't want to get married. Yeah, I wanted to be the first woman president. I had my life laid out before me, whatever. When there were a lot of girls who were thinking, well, I'm going to go to college, I'll meet somebody there, and then we'll get married right after and start having babies, or whatever thought processes were. I hung out with the girls I hung out with. We were all athletes, and it was more, we can do this life by ourselves. We don't need a man, like we're
We
whatever.
got it.
Yeah, yeah. Until at
Right.
17 years old, I met the man of my dreams and married him when I was 18, and that kind of changed things for me. But it worked out great. It was
Yeah.
great, but different paths. So anyway, so here you're living the dream in Miami, but it's not come without a cost. Like
No.
you've worked hard to get to where you are today.
Yeah. So I pivoted. I left. I had started at the University of Dayton. I left school. I moved across the country. I went to visit someone from my dorm floor in Denver for like a long weekend and never came back. Like I stayed there for 10 years. I came back. That was in July. I came back Labor Day to like pack up my car with my clothes and just be there permanently. Stayed there for 10 years, had a really great run in corporate America, founded my first one or two companies there, moved back to Chicago, but downtown because my brother started having kids and I was like addicted to my nephews. I could not stay away. Um, and then continued to build my corporate career in Chicago, ultimately leaving as the chief customer officer online and a vice president at Sears and Kmart back when it was like a $40 billion company. And then I moved to Indianapolis. I took a promotion transition to a chief digital officer role with ADT's residential business. And then kind of everything happened, is what I like to say. So, Stubborn as Fuck, the book is about going from leading these multi-million-dollar brands to literally just fighting for my life in hospital rooms, and somehow in all of that finding love and purpose and just a new sense of power along the way. It's proof that when everything else falls apart, you can rise again, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. But completely unexpectedly, right? Like I had the corner office, I had this whole life set up, and it just completely blew up. Just- and
It's
God
so
was like,
crazy.
time to change everything.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm over here, and I'd like you to
Right.
pay attention to me for a little while, right, or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. So you've had an incredible career,
Thank you.
because I know that you were part of a huge campaign that actually kept Kmart doors alive
Yeah.
and,
Ship my pants.
open. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
The
I love
story,
that.
the story of Ship My Pants and like how that came to be is actually in the book too.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to tell a little bit about it?
Yeah. So that concept was presented by Kmart's agency at the time, FCB Chicago. And I remember in the room, they would present them to the whole room of marketing leadership. The room was really polarized, and the final decision was, it's just too edgy. And I left and I was like, I totally disagree. So, um, being kind of the very strong personality I am, I went to the president and I said, listen, I think we can do this, but let me run it because I have an idea of how to kind of seed it in a very strategic way so we hit the right audience. And if it picks up with them, we'll know it's okay. So my team and I got together and we created a whole strategy on how to seed it through Facebook and YouTube to target, I mean, for lack of a better term, like the late night show audience that's kind of used to off-color humor and okay, as well as some of the more sitcoms that were a little more, like that level of comedy, right? And every hour for 48 hours, I would send up a report to my boss, the CDMO, and then the president and say, here's where it is, here's where we're going, here's where sentiment is. And by the time we got to hour 48, they were like, okay, let it go. And we just went national with it. And it took off more than anyone could have ever expected. We started getting like hey, do you have t-shirts? Do you have merchandise? The stores were calling like, hey, everyone's coming in. Like, can we get a t-shirt? And so then it was like developing the merchandise. But more than anything, I was like, Kmart is back in the conversation. Like, we haven't been in the conversation since the blue light days. And so it was just that was so exciting to see.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, because shit my pants. Obviously, ship with a P,
Pete,
my
yeah,
pants. Yeah.
which was the whole point of it.
Right. Exactly. So funny, so funny. And of course it's going to catch on. I love it. And I would have had a hard time sitting in that room and having people say it's too edgy.
Yeah.
I'd be going, are you kidding me? This is the greatest thing ever. Like, this is genius.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's going to get us back in the conversation. Like we have to do something that's really out there to
Right.
make a splash. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Well, and the blue light special was a thing. I
Oh
remember the
yeah.
blue light special. I mean, it was a big deal. All of a sudden, the blue light would go off. Everybody would swarm over there to see what the special is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Kmart did some imaginative things for sure. And in your heyday with that award-winning,
Oh yeah.
multi-award-winning ad, and I think it to me it seems like it really changed advertising. It opened the doors for some more.
Yeah, it was probably one of the first, certainly at the time, the most successful viral sensation. Because you're thinking this was back, I think that was in 2011, 2012. So this was way before TikTok and things went viral. I don't even think we had Instagram yet. I'm pretty sure we didn't. Like this was really groundbreaking. And so we had more impressions or views, if you will, than a Super Bowl ad. I mean, the amount of media attention that it garnered was worth multi-millions of dollars. And then to your point, it won all kinds of awards. And just to be part of that was absolutely fantastic. I always tell people who have this mindset of like, oh, what was it like to work for Sears and Kmart? And I always tell them like, the best talent I've ever worked with, the best people, the best technology, and an insane amount of innovation. Like you would not believe how fast paced and innovative that organization was, like on the inside. Completely different than how people thought of it on the outside.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I miss those stores.
I
Uh,
usually,
yeah, and Sears was the place that every year we got the
the
catalog.
catalog, you would
Oh
dump
my gosh.
everything.
Yes. Yes. And at Christmas, the toys in the back, and we'd circle, everything that we dreamed about getting on Christmas morning. And I would sit for hours with that thing. I loved it. Just loved
Yeah.
going through that catalog. And yes, yeah. And I know there were boys that looked at certain parts of the catalog that, whatever the brassiere ads, like, oh, that was so edgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then came Shit My Pants, and that kind of put it over the edge. So
Right.
yeah, but that had to be exciting, an exciting time. But since then, your career shifted,
Yeah.
and your whole life shifted. But you went into a different company, into a different city. Uh, you're now in Indianapolis, right?
We moved to Miami
Oh,
about
you moved to Miami, right. But you were
just
in
over a year, yeah,
Indianapolis for a time,
10
and
years.
then now in Miami, which is a beautiful city, great
Yeah.
place to live. I'm sure you love it there. But then some stuff started happening. So you started your own company, highly successful. Here you are on top of the world, really. Like people would look at you and go, "Wow, you've made it," right? I
Yeah.
mean, that you. every milestone that you could meet, you did, you reached it, you surpassed it, started your own business. I love one of the things I'd love for you to talk about with your own business is how you treated people, because you treated people differently
Yeah.
than what is the norm, and why you treated people that way, and how you treated people.
So somewhere around, I want to say like 2009, I flipped my script in my brain to focus entirely on relationships and thought and kind of had this realization. I think I was in my 30s at that time that like relationships are the most important thing in life, not money, not my Lakeshore Drive address or my luxury car. It's relationships. And so when I went into leading my team at Sears, and then I'll move to how I did it in my company. I'll never forget after my first holiday. Anyone who's in retail knows this. You get called up and they're like, okay, it's time to go through clawback, expenses. Who are we laying off? It's always like right before bonus time. And I mean, for lack of a better term, like I lost my shit. I was like, my team has delivered insane growth this year. Revenue, like marketing growth, traffic to site, traffic to store. Like I'm not cutting anyone. And first the whole room was like, who does this person think that she is talking to the president like that? And I was like, I just had again, I had like no, I had a filter, but like I'm always transparent. And so I said, here's the deal. You tell me how much money you need from my budget, and I'll tell you how I'm going to get it to you. And and they were like, he was like, okay. And so, very differently, I went back to my team and got my whole team together, which was like 40 some people. And I said, listen, here's the mandate. We have to claw back X amount of dollars. So we could do that by losing some of us, or we could look at how much do we spend on office supplies? How much do we spend on new computers? Like, let's go through this budget line by line and let's cut this money so we can all stay together as a team. And so I always put my team first. So that was one thing. But then the other thing I did, which was unique, particularly in retail leadership, was my team was one of the first teams that had to be on 24/7 from like the day before Thanksgiving through, because Black Friday was starting to transition to online then. And Sears came out with the pre Black Friday sale for members only starting on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And that was the year that like all the stores were open on Thanksgiving. So here's my team, they're not with their families, they're here working, and they were all relatively younger in their 20s, but still. So I had like a full Thanksgiving dinner catered in. I came in, I wasn't at home with my family. I was like, if you're here, I'm here. Like, we're going to do this together. And I just would always support them regardless of the decision. And I took that into my own businesses. I really treat people the way I want to be treated, that old golden rule, like do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I truly think that. And honestly, Kim, sometimes it's come to bite me in the back, like people have done things that had I not treated them as well, they wouldn't have done, but I wouldn't change that. I just wouldn't. And I'm so grateful to this day. I have very good friends that used to work for me, and I have colleagues I work with that worked with me 10, 15 years ago that I'm still very close to.
Yeah, well, I love that. I mean, all business, all life in general should be focused on relationships. I mean, there's nothing more important in life, absolutely nothing. And life should be all about relationships. And yet, we go through COVID and we have less relationships, and
Right.
relationships have definitely taken a turn for the worse,
Yeah.
as we've become more and more secluded and working from home and whatever. But any chance you get to be with a person, an actual human being,
Yeah.
treat them right. Like I totally agree with you. I mean, if you treat people right, they stay with you forever. I had people that worked for me for over 30 years,
Yeah.
and people will stay with you because they know they're appreciated, and you're
Right.
treating them right, not in some false way, but in a just a
Yeah.
very authentic way. And I love that you stood up to the president and said, wait a second, there's another way to
Yeah.
do this, and these
We
people do
have.
not have to go home to their families and tell them they don't have a job anymore.
Right.
Like that, it should be people first. And you also would send gifts, and
Oh, yeah.
just go
I
above
have
and beyond, right?
I do this with my clients and my team now. I send gifts anytime there's a celebratory event, birthdays, anniversaries, just got a new job, just got a promotion. Had a baby. I love to send gifts, but my husband laughs at me. They're always super personalized. So we spend Thanksgiving with my mother-in-law in the small town in Nebraska where my husband was raised. It is a 2-day drive there with a hotel stay on the night. And I spend both days on my iPad just looking at what gift should I get each person. I have my whole list, the budget, like an idea. So every time a client joins my practice, my coaching practice, I have them fill out an intake and they always laugh at me. It's like, what's your anniversary? Who's your partner's name? What are your kids' names? What are their birthdays? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite local restaurant? Your favorite drink and your favorite flower? And your hobbies, because I want whatever I give them to have them know that it's because I want to celebrate them for whatever that occasion is. It's not because I want to share some kind of branded swag. And that's fine too. A lot of people do that. But to me, it's a personal gift from me to that person. And I want them to feel the thought and intention behind it. So yes, I'm a huge gift giver and I also like to write handwritten notes. I'm like very old fashioned that I think getting a piece of mail that is not junk mail is really exciting still.
I totally agree. And it's a different size envelope.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
right away you know that it's something different that you've gotten in the mail. And I love a handwritten note as well. And it's just so much more personal.
Yeah.
And a great email that can be really nice too, you know,
Yeah.
a little boost, whatever, but getting something in the mail is entirely different. The only issue is I wish that it could get there as quick as an email can.
Oh, it is the slow to call it snail mail is like an understatement. I think I sent something to my cousin. She's like my sister, and they live in just outside Houston in Sugar Land, Texas. It took like 9 days to get to her. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could have probably walked it to Houston from Miami in 9 days. Like, holy goodness.
Oh, I know, I know, I know. It's
Crazy.
so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, well, and I always think too, like Amazon has made gift giving easy,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's other places too, of course, that have made gift giving just so easy. And if you don't have the time,
Hmm.
but you want to tell somebody that you care about them, then go ahead and send it from Amazon. You don't even have to go to the post office. You don't have to do anything. But
Oh,
send a book, send us something, send Adriana's book, which would be an
yes.
incredible gift for anything. We'll talk about that. Uh, but do something, any little extra thing you can do for somebody. Man,
You
it's
have
like,
no
you know,
idea
the,
like the
yeah.
difference that that makes. I'm working with a client right now. I work with a particular group of executives who are integrating into a new company because that first 12 months really determines how successful you are. And 85% of the time, if someone doesn't succeed as an executive in a new company, it's culture. It's not technical proficiency. So anyway, one of the things I'm working on, like with him on, is make sure you put a block on your calendar. You need to send these like personal gratitude notes. And so I was talking to him in his session last week, and I said, now that the holidays are coming up and you guys have had like 4 record months, you need to send a note home to their family. Thank you for supporting, Mary in the last 5 months. She's really done an amazing job. We know it's taken time away from the family, and we just want to recognize and appreciate that.
Okay, so we'll just go back to now that, you know, you've had these record months, you need to send it
Yeah.
out home. So if you want to kind of start there.
Yeah, so I recommend sending a note home to their significant other and their family and just saying, thank you so much for supporting such and such over the last couple of months. We know it's taken them away from your family and your family time, and just want you to know that, she or he is doing, or they are doing a great job, and we appreciate you supporting them. It goes so far just to thank their family, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to mention Amazon's a great place to send gifts. If you don't have someone's address, because that's what always people are like, well, I don't know their address. They work from home. I don't have, there's a site called Goody. I think it's on Goody, GODDY.com, that I use. It's all personalized gifts. It sends them a link. So you pick out the gift and it sends them a link and says, hey, Adriana has gifted you something. You open it, it's a nice note. They pick if they want that gift, or you can give them the option to swap. Um, but like, let's say you're sending a nice moleskin journal, they can pick the color that they want, for example, and then they put in the address and it sends it to them. So you don't even need addresses anymore. Like you just have to
Wow.
pick the gift and it sends it. And it is not like expensive. It's got gifts at every level and every type. I think I've used On Goody for no less than 4 years.
On Goody.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I
Good.
don't get
Yeah.
anything for telling you about that. It's no like affiliate
Oh,
codes or anything. It's just a great site I found to do custom gift giving.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes too, because that's something everybody could use that I'm
Yeah,
sure a lot of people would be happy to know about. So thank you for that. I appreciate
sure.
that. Yeah. Okay. So here you're doing your thing. You're married, you're happy, you love the guy
Yeah.
from Nebraska,
Oh,
you love
so
your
love him.
stepdaughter, right?
Yeah.
And business is booming, everything is great. But the one thing that sometimes we take for granted or we just kind of put on the back burner because we're so busy focusing on everything else
Yeah.
went bad for you, your health.
Yeah.
And how did it all start?
So such a crazy way. I was sitting in a leadership meeting, which was like a weekly meeting, and took a sip of water, and I literally fell out of the chair and like doubled over in pain. And so ended up at the hospital, no surprise. And they were like, oh, did some testing. It's your gallbladder. We're going to remove your gallbladder, which they did. Back to work 5 days later because I can't sit still. And maybe another 2 days after that, I was in my office and took a sip of coffee and happened again. And so my assistant called Eric, now husband, and he was like, I'll meet her at the hospital, back to the hospital. And that was the first time I had ever had what was called an acute pancreatitis attack. And little did I know, Kim, how pancreatic disease would take over my entire life. So that was in the fall of 2015. I spent most of the next few months in the hospital. I'd be out for like a week, back in for three, living on copious amounts of narcotics. I mean, Dilaudid, fentanyl, just to breathe because the pain was so bad. That was the beginning of living on feeding tubes because my body just would not allow I mean, nothing, not even like water in. And so that turned into the last 10 years of kind of battling not just pancreatic disease. I now have 32 diseases. So I have lupus and Sjogren's, and now I have liver disease. And my pancreas was removed in 2019, and they did a transplant into my liver, which made me like a brittle diabetic. I have Addison's disease and hypopituitary. I mean, I just have like this. I joke that I collect hospital bands like people collect vacation souvenirs. Like, just, I mean, I spend my life in and out of hospitals, and I have coded, I think, at least 3 or 4 times. And I always call it a blessing. I have these big blackout moments where I don't remember a bunch of this. And I believe it's because like my mind knows to protect itself, because if I could remember all that, I don't think I could function. But really the kind of kingpin was in 2016. We were in Nebraska. My father-in-law had passed away. We were there for his funeral, and I had a horrible pancreatitis attack, and I got super mad at like God and everyone. I was like, Eric needs me right now. Why is this happening? And so we had to quickly fly me back to Chicago because by 2016 I was way too sick for anyone in Indiana to handle. So they had moved my care to Chicago, and they came in and said, you have to have a surgery called the Whipple, and we'll be
Mm.
back in a couple hours. You're going to have questions. And so Eric and I looked it up, and sure enough, we had 40 some questions. And the chief of surgery, Dr. Matthews, came back with his chief resident, and they politely answered all of the questions. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I want this. Seems like a real bad idea. Like, only 25% of people live for 5 years. I don't think I want to do this. And he's like, okay, well, you can either have the Whipple or you can die. And I was like,
Oh,
talk about bearing the headline. I was like, why did you even let me ask all these questions? And he's like, well, I wanted to feel like you knew what you were getting into. So I said, okay, well, when do I need to do this? So I have like 6, 8 months. And he's like, no, you need to do it now. And I said, okay, I have one request. I want to go home for Thanksgiving. I want to be discharged and go home to spend Thanksgiving and the day after with my family, since there's a very good chance it could be my last. He agreed. And I came back in December and they did the Whipple. They took out 2/3 of my stomach, most of my small intestine, over half my pancreas, my bile duct. I mean, I I have like no organs left in here. Um, and it had an intense 18-month recovery, most of which I was in a wheelchair. And then, of course, in 2019, the Whipple didn't take. So I had the remainder of my pancreas removed. So it's not just that, but it's, for me, it was losing my identity. I had built my life to be a corporate success, and my job title, my beautiful home and car and nice bank account, those were all things I identified as successful and as me. And I was like, well, I mean, now who am I? Like now I can't get a big corporate job again. I mean, my body wouldn't handle it. Eric and I had moved in together, thankfully, before that, but I was like, I can't even drive anymore. I just had to reinvent my whole life. And that's why I wrote Stubborn as Fuck, because and the title is bold intentionally for two reasons. One, this is our wedding anniversary, this little tattoo on my wrist.
Mhm.
Um, and my husband jokes that on this wrist, you see nothing. He says it says stubborn as fuck. Like he's told me that forever. And so when I was trying to figure out the title for the book, it just landed well. But also because the book includes stories of me coding and of me saying goodbye, and also of really intense breaking of boundaries with family members. And I'm like, if you can't handle the title, or if the title is too much for you, you will not be able to handle the content. Um, because it's not just about reinventing who your identity is now that maybe in my case, I don't have this corporate anymore, right? It was people disappear from your life when you get sick. I don't know if they think they're going to catch it from you or what it is, but they just disappear. So it's literally reinventing every part of your life. And in our case, falling in love over YouTube videos in hospital rooms at 3 a.m., and Eric surviving on Pop Tarts, as opposed to like beautiful dinners out and, plays or whatever. So yeah, it has been a long journey. It is still a journey. I've only been out of the hospital right now like 12 days. So it is still a daily, I won't call a daily thing I live with. I try not to say I battle it, because to me that would be fighting against it, and I try to live with it.
Mhm. Wow, that's so much. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, the Whipple, one of the worst surgeries, if not the worst, I think
Yep.
anybody can ever have to do. Some
Yeah.
people that are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, they do a Whipple trying to
Yeah.
extend their life a bit. And anybody I know that has gotten it has regretted it just because it's so hard to live with, hard to live through.
Horrible. Yep.
It's yeah, just and that's just one of the things you've had to endure. And it is a whole different life. And so everything shifted for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure, from success is this to success is something entirely different. Like, what is success to you
Right.
now?
So success to me now is I have a very happy, loving marriage. I have a wonderful support community. And this is going to sound a little crazy, but I'm still here. Like
Mm,
that alone is success, because if you look at any of the statistics, and there's actually only one report that has ever shown people that have had the Whipple and the total pancreatectomy, because there's only like 100 of us. Um, if you look at any of those reports, I should have been gone years ago. And so success for me is literally waking up every day and getting the opportunity to go for a walk, even the ability to walk. I've been back in a wheelchair for a while. So all of those little things that many people take for granted, I look at as little bits of success that add up to most success I've had. You could put all of those corporate jobs and all of the wonderful things that come with that to the side, and I would still pick this life.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So tell me, so not easy. And you find
Yeah.
out things one at a time, kind of, right? Bits and pieces.
Yes.
And so first
Yeah.
it's your gallbladder, and then nope, it's pancreatitis, and no, nope, it's more than that, and it's more than that, and just kept going and kept going. And you said there were times that you're, kind of shaking your fist at God, going, "Are you even
Yeah.
here? Like,
Right.
I've done all these things. Like, why are you taking this away from me? Or why is this
Right.
happening?" How did you get to a point where you're not shaking your fist anymore?
I think part of it is time, one. Um, Second is my cousin who I mentioned, Pamela, who's like a sister. She and I talk every day, and a lot of what we talk about is our relationship with God and how it's different. She's Christian, I'm Jewish, but yet for both of it's still a kind of a core part of our lives, and how we don't get to decide. Like, I always joke like create a plan and then you'll really figure out what he thinks. Like, so funny that you decided that. No, you know, um, but the other one was just understanding that praying for myself, I used to think was very selfish. I didn't think that like you prayed for yourself, you prayed for others. And so I had to rewire my brain to say it's okay to ask God for wisdom or strength or whatever I need, right? Um, because I can't just stay mad at him or anyone. That anger inside of you, I don't care who it's at, eats away at you, right? And I don't have the capacity for anything more to be eaten away mentally or physically. So, like anything that's going to distract, I've got to clean up. And so it comes and goes. I mean, very honestly, yes, I was super mad at him in 2016 when that happened. The other time I remember being super, super mad with God was I was diagnosed with lupus December 31st of last year, 24. And the same day I got a call that they had found an abnormality, a mass on my mammogram. And I
Mm.
was like, are you kidding me? Like, what is, do I not have enough yet? Like, oh my God. um,
Flowers. How about flowers or chocolates? How about, there's other things you could give me. Like, why this? Yeah, right.
and and so that one was hard, and honestly that took probably a good couple of weeks to like just, or maybe a month, just to like process and go through. And I do say, everyone's got something, right? Some people it's relationships, some people it's money or career or family. Mine is my health and my body, that I've been blessed to have as my challenge in life. And so I just try not to see myself as any different, just that I have something different I focus, that kind of I have to deal with in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so true. I mean, everybody's got something for
Yeah.
sure, but how you handle things, that's what I kind of always say, is not so much the things that happen to us, but how you handle them and what you do with it.
Yeah.
And pretty much anything in life, there's two sides to the coin, basically, right? You can
Yeah.
take what you've been dealt and make the best of it and help
Yep.
others along the way. Like,
Yeah.
nobody can relate to somebody who's had the whipple like someone who's had the whipple, right?
Right.
Nobody can relate to lupus like somebody who has lupus. Nobody can relate to, chronic disease like someone who has
Yeah.
chronic disease. So you can use it to help other people, or you can wallow in it and
Yeah.
just stay down and depressed, and which is can be so easy to do. I mean, there's
Oh
got to be
yeah.
days that it's hard to just get out of bed and put a smile on your face.
Yeah. I tell my husband and my Tia, my aunt who's living with us right now, if I just listened to my body, because both of them are like, you've got to stop pushing so hard and pushing so hard all the time. And I'm like, you guys need to understand, if I just listened to my body, I'd be in bed all the time. Like, I don't wake up energized. I wake up exhausted every day. And my mind is why I get out of bed. Like, if I can help one person today, it'll be worth it. And so, yes, it takes me twice as long to shower. And some days I don't, I let my hair air dry because I most of the time I don't have the strength to blow dry it. Like, but if I just listened to my body, I'd for sure be in bed most of the time. But it's your mind that like has to be stronger than, in my case, than my physical body to say, get up, it's beautiful outside, go sit outside and have a cup of coffee, or just go enjoy the morning somehow. Um, it's for sure the strength of my mind that allows me to do that. And that's because I'm so stubborn. I refuse to let them, I don't care how many diagnoses you give me, I refuse to let you kick me down.
Yeah, well, great attitude. And I love that you said, if I can help one person today,
Yeah,
and that what a motivating factor that is to even just crawl out of bed when you don't feel like
yep,
crawling out of bed. And so, yeah, it's an interesting life that you lead now.
yeah,
It's, I think there are times when it can be so easy to take life for granted and health for granted. You're cruising along and everything's great, and like you said, you got money in the bank account. You're living
right.
in the high rise. You're whatever, living where
Yeah,
you want to live and driving what you want to drive and doing what you want to do, and it can be so easy to just take all that for granted.
yeah. It's so easy. And like even this move to Miami, completely unintentional. This is another story in the book, but in July of 24, my primary doctor was in Indy, and then all of my care was out of Chicago. So she kind of managed all of it. She looked at me and she was like, "You are far too acutely sick to be 3 hours from your specialty center and your emergency room. No one here can handle you." And anyone who's had the Whipple, or all of, like, I've had 24 surgeries at this point, that kind of manipulation of their system will tell you no one else wants to touch you after a different place has done the Whipple. So like no one would touch me other than the University of Chicago because it's so manipulated anatomically that they don't want to be responsible, like if my bowel blows, which is a common thing to happen. So it's very hard. And she was like, you guys have to move. You've got to move somewhere by a specialty facility that can handle the amount of diseases she has and how acutely sick she is. Um, and so thankfully, I was very involved with a pancreas organization, and I knew that there were 3 centers in Miami and several in New York. There's others throughout the country, but those were kind of the stronger pockets. And the other thing I'm always grateful is I could have looked at it and been like, great, now we have to sell our home. How's Eric going to keep his job because he works out of Indianapolis? Like, what are we going to do? And the only thing Eric said to me was, if that's what we have to do, then that's what we do, and we go wherever you need the care. And so we came to Miami. We found a place in a weekend and moved. And now he commutes home to Miami on the weekends because his job is still in Indy. But I look at it, Kim, as like, I'm so grateful because how many people have a spouse that would just look at you and be like, wherever we have to go? How
Mm.
many people would still have health care in another state? So I have an amazing spouse. I have health care coverage, and we have the ability to have 2 homes. Like, what is that, 1%? Sorry, I get teary eyed because as much as people are like see from the outside, like, oh, she's got this great life, they've got these 2 homes. I could have really taken this as like, we don't have our time together. I'm not with my best friend, all of these things. And I just look at it and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I have the husband I have and the support I have and the ability to be able to be here and the health insurance and the care, because those are a lot of things people take for granted that I just don't.
Mm.
And so that's how we ended up in sunny Miami.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we woke up and we're like, hey, we're gonna go move to Miami.
Yeah.
um, and even in the neighborhood, because we had to be within 10 minutes of the hospital. So it was kind of a forced decision that has, of course, turned into a blessing.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, as a Michigander, that if I had to choose between New York and Miami, I would choose Miami for
Yeah,
the weather.
the
But
weather's a lot
yeah,
nicer.
yeah, yeah, a lot nicer. Yeah, you don't need even as many clothes as
No.
you do. You don't need different seasons, 4 seasons of clothing. And yes, so I love your attitude. I mean, you do just have a beautiful heart, but it didn't just start because of the diseases that crept into your body. You've had this beautiful heart your whole life, and I'd love for you to speak about that. What is it besides stubbornness? What is it do you think about you that has allowed you to still be here and with a smile on your face and you're beautiful. If anybody is not watching this on video, you're stunning. You're just a beautiful
Thank you.
woman and you
Thank you.
glow. You know, you just radiate love and joy and it's hard I'm sure for a lot of people to imagine being in your position and being as radiant as you are. Um, what else has contributed to you today?
Yeah, it's kind of backwards sounding. I had a really hard childhood. So I am Latin. Um, my dad is Argentine, my mom's 100% German, and I shared that I was raised by a single mother. So I look just like my daddy, like just like him. My mom, all my cousins, all her sisters, she was one of seven, all blonde hair, blue or green eyes, very beautiful German family. Um, and then came me, a little brownie kid with the dark hair and dark eyes and dark skin. And when my parents divorced, my dad was not very accepted in my mother's family. And when my parents divorced, everyone kind of took it out on me. Like I was the epitome of him. And so I was kind of the outcast. Um, and so some of the stories are in the book about how those difficult childhood moments ended up shaping me because I almost learned the opposite. Like I learned that no matter what you look like, your skin, whatever it is, you treat people with love because that was not how I was treated. And so I had an experience of I don't ever want anyone to feel the way I feel. And that's not to say that my mom didn't love me and didn't do her best, but like I had a completely different childhood than my brother who has brown hair but the big blue eyes, right? Or my sister who's blonde hair and blue eyed. That was honestly like the eighth daughter. She was so doted on by my grandparents. I just had a different experience. And so I learned at a young age, probably like 5 years old. I can remember being in the back room while everyone was having Christmas up in the front because my mom's family was Lutheran and just kind of being back there by myself. And I learned how to be introspective and like, honestly, I learned how to love myself because I wasn't getting it from where you would typically get it at that age. And so, as opposed to saying, like, oh, I learned it from this amazing environment, I didn't have that, you know. I got kicked out at 17, have always had to rely on myself. And I wouldn't change that for anything because that's what gets me up every day. Like I have to rely on me. I have to do this. That was the kind of strength and resilience I used to start all five of my companies. Um, and anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that that's like having a child. You have, it could be a toddler one day, it could be a teenager the next day. Like, you don't know what title you have that day, what's going to happen. You don't know what your hours are going to be. And so that kind of really difficult childhood is what taught me that love is the most important thing, whether it's self love or someone else that you're giving it or receiving it from. But that was really what shaped it.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's some personal strength. Yeah, because again, you know, you could have gone either way with that
Yeah,
and chose to go the way that you went. And not that's not easy,
no,
especially as a kid, you know, to have that kind of I don't know, those feelings, the knowledge
yeah,
that this is that you are being treated differently, that alone is crushing. You know, to know
yeah. It
that
was.
just because of the way you looked, which
Mhm.
how silly is that?
It's. I think that people like maybe like my stepdaughter Mary does not quite understand it.
she's mad at my grandparents to this day. She never met them. They were gone way before her. She's like, I can't believe they did that. That's terrible. And I'm like, this was a very different time, right? Like my grandparents were born in the early 1900s. These are very different people. This is a very different time. I don't think my grandmother woke up every day and was like, I'm gonna just make this little girl's life horrible. I don't think that anything she did was intentional. I think that's who she was in that time. That is not excusing what happened, but it's simply understanding that thankfully times have advanced and people look at things differently. And honestly, I have also done therapy for 25 years. So I have, and that to me is an investment in myself. Like I have really invested time and resources and energy and whatever it takes to get me to the best place possible. And I still do it on a weekly basis. Because think of, I mean, like, I don't know any given week what new disease or something I'm going to have. I don't know what I'm going to need mentally to check in. And, that's not Eric's job. It's not my best friend's job. It's my job to make sure I'm managing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love your attitude. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, it's beautiful. And I'd like you to talk more about self-love. I love that you brought that up because when I was a kid, it seemed like it was a selfish thing, right? Like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, like an ego thing. Like,
Hmm.
and I think I've known a lot of people over the years that that's kind of been the attitude when I talk to people about loving themselves and how important that is, that really you got to love yourself before you can really love other people and appreciate who you are so that you can appreciate other people. And so, what do you say if somebody says, well, self-love, like, that it sounds like an ego thing or it sounds like a selfish thing?
Well, first of all, the book is centers around 13 certain truths to rise, reclaim, and reinvent yourself. The second truth is love fuels everything. And it has self-love literally woven into the entire thing. Because there's a beautiful story about Eric and I and our love, but not everyone has that, right? But everyone needs self-love. So I've woven that through there. But yes, it is selfish. But if you don't love yourself, how or why would anyone else? Right? Like if you can't wake up and be like, I love my dark skin, or I love my brain, or I love the color I picked for my toenails. I don't care what you pick. Find something to love about yourself. And if you're struggling with that, because I've gone through that time, my little trick is to write down 3 things you love about yourself every day. Keep a notebook, just 3 things. It can be the smallest thing. I love that I wake up early in the morning. I love that I have a house over my head. Like 3 things every day. And so those days where you feel like you're not loving yourself, you just go back to your journal, like, look at all the things I love about myself. Because anyone can find 3 things. It's hard to wake up every day and be like, I'm amazing. But anyone can wake up and think of 3 things they love about themselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. That is such great advice. I love that. Just a little notebook by your bed or
Yeah.
wherever, a convenient place, and write down 3 things every day. And because we have those days when it's a good thing to go
Yeah.
back and refer to it and go, oh, okay, I'm not so bad.
Yeah.
I,
Right.
I am lovable, like I'm worthy of love. And yeah, that's great advice. I like that a lot. It's interesting to me, the things that we look at in ourselves, we tend to be, I talk, sometimes I say we, Adriana, and I'm thinking I'm speaking for the entire world right now because I'm saying we. Some people, some people would look at self-love and think that uh, they should look different. Like they don't look
Yeah.
like some the people in the magazine, or their skin is a different color, their hair is a different color, their eyes are a different color, their
Yeah.
body is a different shape, or their whatever. And I think of those things and I think, man, there's so many superficial things that really
Yeah.
have nothing to do with who you are,
Yeah.
right? They have nothing to do with who you are. And so it's I think there's such beauty in the fact that God made us all unique. There's
Right.
nobody in the world that looks exactly like you, that is
Right.
exactly like you. You're the only one. There's so much beauty in that. And so there's beauty in every person, but we tend to focus sometimes on the outward appearance when really,
Oh, sure.
man, you can
Especially in
tell.
like Instagram
Yeah.
lifestyle or TikTok. I mean, like there's so many visual mediums like overwhelming people, a lot of which are, filtered or faked or whatever, but it's very hard to not think about, oh, well, I don't have the right cheekbones, or my smile's not perfect, or my skin's not right, or I have curly hair instead of straight, like it's so much easier. We are our own worst critics, all of us, right?
Mhm.
But again, like if you don't love yourself, someone else can't love you because you're preventing that from happening, right?
Right,
And to
exactly.
your point, like, thank goodness we're all different. Like, I don't think I'd like to be with my own self. Like, I'd be too similar to myself, right? Like,
Right.
Eric is literally almost my opposite in every way. So there are such beautiful things about all of us. But that it is a good point. That's another story in the book. There's like three stories in each chapter about how these truths have materialized or shown up in my life. But it was the story of falling in love with my own body because I have struggled with um, kind of body image issues for a long time, and how to learn to love the weight I have on my body.
Mm.
Because I have struggled so bad since I've been diagnosed with pancreatitis with keeping even 2 pounds on. And then for women my age, I went into menopause and it was like all this weight came on, and I was like, oh my God, I don't even recognize myself. I feel like I'm a sausage in a casing. What is happening? Um, and I had never been at this point in life where I was like this size, and I wasn't big by any means. I'm not trying to say that, but for me, it was very uncomfortable. And I had to go through a process of falling in love with my own body and appreciating what it was going through, because the ability to get rid of it, whether it was exercising or strength training or diet, I didn't have any of that. I don't have the strength to exercise. I'm not allowed to lift because of all the scar tissue, and I have a very restrictive diet if I'm even eating. Like now I live on a feeding tube, so all the things I could do to change it I really couldn't do. So my only choice was either to accept it and fall in love with it, or keep fighting it and hating it. And I thankfully went to the first at
Mm.
some point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's so interesting. And yeah, falling in love with your body. I've never heard anybody term it that way, say it that way, but it's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
because like I was on my first diet when I was 8 years old. My mom had me on a diet because she was weight conscious. My mom was a tiny little thing, but if she got up to like 120 pounds, man, she was on a diet. Like she
Yeah.
she couldn't handle it. And so whatever it was that was programmed in her then became part of my story. And
Right.
so it was, and I wasn't a big kid, but probably, 8
Eight.
years old and maybe probably 5 pounds overweight, maybe or something, so whatever that would mean, and eating cottage
Yeah.
cheese and tomatoes for lunch. And it changes how you look at your body. It changes everything. Like I don't
Yes.
think I cared or even thought about it before then. But then
Hmm.
when your diet's restricted, when you told you can't eat this, you can't have that, you can't do this, you can't do that, then the stubbornness in me is like, I can't. Well, why
Right.
can't I have a ho-ho? Like whatever. I don't know. But it did shape for years and years and years how I felt about my body, how I thought about it. And then uh, I wish I would have known you sooner because it would have changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's a confidence thing, it's a whatever thing. And, in retrospect, we should all, it's your body. It's the only one you have,
Yeah.
treat it right and love it, love
Yeah.
the skin you're in, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
it is
That's so good.
not an easy lesson to learn. I had a mother who also restricted my food, like watched everything I ate, every calorie. I lived on like yogurt and celery. And thankfully I love those two. But she did it was a little bit different than your mom. My mom was overweight. And so she controlled what I ate, what I wore, how I looked, almost as like she couldn't control herself. She was going to put it on me. And to your point, it just became part of my story. And again, that's not to say she was a bad mother. That's just to say she did the best with the skills and abilities she had at the time. And I have had to work to reprogram myself, right? But it's not easy at all.
Mm, yeah, no, it really isn't. It really isn't. But I think when you get to the point where you're like, screw it,
Yeah,
no, like who cares what other people think?
right.
Is a big part of it, right?
Yeah,
So, because if you care, if you're the only one that's caring, well, you're the only one that can do something about changing anything if you feel like you want to change anything, right? But
yes,
it's when you care about what other people think that puts you in a whole different place. And it's like,
absolutely.
who cares what other people think? That's on them. You don't
Yeah,
get to control what other people think. Good, bad, indifferent, you have no control over it. They can think however they want to, just like you can think however you want to. And so knowing you have no control, just who cares?
yeah. It's like a freedom to in the
It
lack of
is.
control. It's like you have no control, so you might as well let go of attempting or thinking you do.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because my very short mom married a very short man. And so I am not a tall person. And I can not like it. I mean, I don't mind. I don't care that I'm short. I've been short my whole life. I'm kind of used to it.
right. Yeah,
Right. But and there's heels, I like heels. But
me too.
but it's there are things you can't change.
Right.
I can't all of a sudden wake up 6 inches taller or whatever. It's not just not going to happen. And so, love who you are entirely, completely inside and out. And if there's things you don't like, you're the only one that can do something about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's so good. Such great advice. So if you had, we're at our time limit. I could talk to you for hours and hours. You're amazing. And
Yeah.
I'd love to be your friend and just live next door. We can go have coffee on the balcony, whatever, go for a
Sounds
walk.
great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But if you had one piece of advice that you love to give people or that somebody gave you at one point in time that has really stuck with you, what would that be?
It's on a plaque in my office and it says, never, never, never give up. I did not create it. Winston Churchill did, whatever you think about that person. Um, but that's kind of how I think. And it's not like, dig yourself into the ground. It's never give up on yourself. So whatever you're going through, never, never, never give up.
Mhm. Such great advice. That's so good. That's so good. I love that. And I love it that it's on a plaque in your office.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's good.
It's the only
We
thing
need
on my
those reminders.
desk other
Yeah.
than two books, not
Yeah.
surprisingly that they're on the desk. And of course a picture of Eric.
Yeah.
That's it. Otherwise, and I've had this plaque since I think I bought it maybe 20 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
What's
Wow.
amazing
So
is that
it's
our cat hasn't broken it. She
yeah,
loves
so
to be on the desk, but
yeah. Well, hopefully it remains that way,
yeah,
unbroken. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and that is really good advice. Okay, so people I'm sure are falling in love with you just like I have. How can
Thank you.
people reach out to you and tell us about your book? It's so exciting. It's
Thank you.
going to be something everybody should buy for everybody they know. And so, yeah, go ahead, tell us whatever you want.
Yeah. So, in terms of how to find me, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Adriana Cowdin. You can find me on Instagram under Adriana L. Cowdin. And then my website, adrianacowdin.com. They're all very consistent and easy to find. The book will be released November 1st on Amazon. You can get it there. You can get it on my site. And then by the end of the year, you'll be able to get it at hundreds of different sites, Target, Walmart, all that. Um, but literally if you are what I like to say is if you're brilliant and burned out, right, like life has knocked you down, stubborn as fuck is really resilience with grit, grace, and zero apologies. It is a true story of how I lost everything and ended up finding love and strength and purpose. And more importantly, every chapter shares how you can do it in your life too.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your stories with the world. And
Thank
I
you.
know it's going to help so many people. And thanks for being here. This has been so fun. You're incredible. And
Thank you.
thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Pass it along. There's probably people that you know that could really hear what was said today and feel better about themselves and realize that resilience is for everybody and you can overcome whatever. I mean, if Adriana can overcome the things that she is or live with the things that she's living with, certainly whatever you got going, you can do it. You can get through it. You can get some of that stubborn grit and get through it. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And until we see each other again, I just pray that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.